Does anyone remember SpongeBob episode Sponge Who Could Fly, that aired in March 2003? It was dubbed a lost episode by its commercials based on episode's storyline, where Patchy Pirate uses a treasure map to find SpongeBob episode that he lost. Night before episode was aired, I was sick with norovirus. I was vomiting almost every 5 minutes and I was feeling too ill to fall asleep, so I stayed up and watched TV. Around 2:30 a.m., my stomach started to settle, so I planned to turn off TV and try to fall asleep, but as I was reaching for my remote control, opening for SpongeBob TV show started playing. SpongeBob was my favorite show at that time, so I couldn't miss out on watching it. Although, I thought it was kind of strange that they were showing SpongeBob in middle of night, but I didn't think much of it. When opening played, I noticed that contrast of animation was slightly darker than usual, and theme song sounded a bit harsh and raspy. This made me feel a little uncomfortable, but I also tried brushing that off. Title card read, Lost Episode, so I figured that there was a mishap and Nickelodeon was accidentally airing Sponge Who Could Fly. When episode started playing, it immediately looked out of ordinary. It started off with SpongeBob sitting on his bed, slouched and looking downward with a somber look on his face. This was definitely not like himself. SpongeBob is so optimistic all time, why would he be acting like this? After about 10 seconds of seeing SpongeBob like this, he let out a big sigh, then looked over to his bedside barrel, and screen zoomed in on a pill bottle that was sitting beside his clock. Once screen zoomed in close enough to read text on bottle, it showed that it was a Prozac bottle. Show then panned to a scene with a much brighter contrast, showing SpongeBob taking one of pills, then running off smiling and laughing. Fact that SpongeBob had to take pills to be, well, himself, made me feel uneasy, especially because mental disorders and antidepressants are more mature themes that obviously shouldn't find a place in any kid's cartoon. It should be noted that this was seen on a show intended for kids. Screen then flipped back to original scene of SpongeBob looking distressed, while at same time changing contrasts back to darker one. Screen froze on SpongeBob for a few seconds, then flickered to a new scene. This scene showed SpongeBob at his desk, same one that he was in. Episode procrastination with his Prozac bottle, a piece of paper, and a pencil. In this scene, instead of staying at one contrast, colors kept on flickering from light to dark. SpongeBob gripped pencil in his hand, and a tear rolled down his face. Part that bothered me most was that tear didn't look like usual blue, cartoon-style tears characters in SpongeBob usually cry out. This tear looked completely realistic, as if there had been a drop of water rolling down my TV from his eye. SpongeBob wiped tear from his face with his sleeve, and began to write on paper, reading out loud what he was writing. "I can't take it anymore," he said. As soon as he got the sentence out, a faint noise started playing in background. It sounded like a child crying. This noise continued playing as SpongeBob continued writing. "My life has been horrible and hasn't gotten better. My best friend, Patrick, is only my best friend because he doesn't know any better. My neighbor, Squidward, hates my guts. He would probably be happy if I wasn't around anymore." SpongeBob stopped writing and talking and started weeping loudly. Color flicking started getting faster, and cries in background started getting louder, and it sounded like more children were beginning to cry. It could have just been my imagination, but I remember hearing one of children very faintly yell, "He's gonna do it." Children's cries get louder and colors keep flickering faster as SpongeBob keeps writing. "Only job I can get is being fry cook at Krusty Krab. My boss, Mr. Krabs, refuses to give me an actual paycheck, and he basically uses me to get more customers. I'm in my 20s and I still don't have my driver's license. Sandy is only girl I've ever had in my life, and even she's just a friend. She's never had any interest in me. I'm pretty sure she's only my friend because she feels sorry for me. I'm sorry if I'm hurting anyone at all for doing this, but I just can't live like this anymore." Screen froze for a few seconds, then show continued with SpongeBob writing his final sentence. Contrast stayed dark instead of flickering from light to dark, and children stopped crying. It was absolute silence except for SpongeBob saying, "Goodbye." Cries came back. SpongeBob quickly stood up, twisted off lid on Prozac bottle, dipped his head back, let all of pills in. Bottle fell into his mouth, and swallowed them all whole. Screen twitched and animation was darker, but still visible. SpongeBob clutched his stomach, and vomited realistic, pale greenish-orange stomach bile. It was clear that his body was trying to cleanse itself from overdose, but it was no use. SpongeBob collapsed onto floor, and lied there motionless until screen turned to static. Needless to say, I was scared out of my mind, and sleep was out of question. Recently, I've been looking for this episode all over internet, but not even one website seems to have it. If you recognize this episode, please let me know.